Okay, guys, I'm going to teach you a simple chorus. Here's how it goes. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. In case you didn't hear the words, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Let's try and sing that together. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord will be my strength. I will not falter, I will not faint. He is my shepherd, I am not afraid. And the joy of the Lord is my strength. Let's sing it together. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Okay, now this time I'm going to ask you to do something weird. Everybody stretch up in the air like this because it's been a long day. Oh. And as you stretch, put your arm down. Just let it rest around somebody next to you. Just let it rest on their shoulders. Here we go. Listen to these words. The joy of the Lord, it will be my strength, and He will uphold me all of my days. I am surrounded by mercy and grace, and the joy of the Lord is my strength. You should all be hugging somebody like that group of 4 people right there. Do you see them? Okay, be like those people. Grab onto someone and let's sing it together. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. Beautiful. And on your way down, I want you to look at that person next to you and say, you bring me so much joy.
All right. So, where is my dog Bella when I need her? That's what I would have to say to her. You bring me joy. My dog Bella, she'd be swinging, we'd be singing together. All right, so what I thought we'd start with is connect what we've done the last 3 sessions with this final session, which are some of like how do we remove the things that are getting in the way of joy. But before we do that, I was going to ask the 3 speakers or the 3 leaders of the sessions. So Christine, someone's got a microphone? Who's got a? Yeah, if you could go, Christine's right here. So let Christine go first, and then I can't see it, but Dave is somewhere over. Dave, you can do it.
Here, he's over there. I've got.
Okay, Dave's over there, and then where is Jim and Terry are here. So
Gotcha.
Let's do Christine first. Just do a little. If you want to come up and then just kind of stand a little bit, and then just kind of give us a summary of some of what you've heard. Kind of give us a sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi. It is warmer up here.
It is.
It's freezing out there.
Good 20 degrees warmer. Welcome to my world. And you can't see anyone either, can you?
No, it's blinding. Though you all look fabulous. Yeah, I was so grateful. I mean, I'm just feel so grateful. I'm so lucky. My world of poetry constantly puts me into places in interaction with other people that is so precious and sacred. And I think the big takeaway from this morning session and today, this afternoon, it's also a takeaway of the retreat, is that we are one, and how powerful this community is, and how we are each stronger together, and how important it is to show up for each other. The conversations in there all happened. I would read a poem, either that I had written or somebody else had written, and then the conversation just opened. And one person's insight would lead to another's or jog someone's memory that then touched somebody else's heart. And it became all these individual stories and reactions united into one. It was stunning. It was an actual active prayer done communally. And as you were saying earlier, this is why we come to Mass, because we have to be together and what you get from it. Came into Mass last week, and somebody came in a little late. I won't say who they were. But the people in back of them knew them and gave
It's
them...
half the church, by the
Yeah,
way.
okay,
No, sorry.
okay. It's usually me, actually. It's unusual that it wasn't me. But what I witnessed was the people in back of them gave her a great big hug. And I thought, this is why we come to Mass. That's why we show up for each other. Mm-hmm. And that was an incredible conversation I got to be privy to twice today. So thank you for all who came.
Good,
I'll go find Dave.
Yeah, so you want to come up, Dave? And then, so as Dave's coming up, just on that, the power of sharing is critical, and the power of communal is critical, right? So those two are critical components to the habit of joy and the choice of joy. So, like, really listen to how you can design your habits, new habits around both communal and sharing. Go ahead.
Well, how can you see with all
You
these?
don't.
You just. Wow. Our group was, I can only echo what it was that Christine said, in that when people start talking about truth, about what the Lord has in store for us, or about simply, in this case, the pillars of the heart, I'm glad I took a few notes. It's crazy that I looked down at my watch, and it was 1 hour and 15 minutes, and it was time for lunch. And I thought had been only about 20 minutes. I was sure it wasn't even half an hour. And the energy that was generated by just the discussion and hearing what people had to say about forgiveness, stories of gratitude. One person was sitting there taking it all in. It was amazing, because at the end, we had like 3 or 4 minutes left, and this person hadn't shared because all the rest of us had so much energy, and I was the moderator, and I'm like, I am lame because this person hadn't shared. And she said, well, I didn't have anything to say, except that when I'm grateful in the morning just for running water that I can to use to brush my teeth. And then she just started talking about all these little things. And then that just built into something bigger and bigger. And then I realized that that's how some of my gratitude practice works. It's like, if you just start with the little things, I'm grateful for this church. I'm grateful for the people here. I'm grateful for the fact that we have AC in the summer and then heat in the winter, and that it's such a beautiful church, and that we have people who come. And then you just start going. You won't stop. Unbelievable. We did have another little riff where we were talking about the fact that, the devil, he hates this, right? And so what happens when we get into a block and we have a hard time being grateful, or we have a hard time with forgiveness or compassion for someone? And so we had a little riff on what we do. And we realized that when we say invoke Mary, that he runs from that. He runs from that. So if we say a rosary, or we say, Mary, help me with forgiving this person, he hates it, and that can open things up. And then maybe one other key thing is when we really struggle to understand who we are in front of the Lord and who we are to him. For any of us who have kids, it becomes real simple. Because there's nothing, I would imagine, that your kid could probably do that would make you ever not love them with all of your heart. And that's who our Lord is. He will come, and he will chase us down, and we will be that one sheep in 100 that he will find wandering, and he will bring us back into the fold. But I just want to thank everyone who shared in our group. It was very powerful.
Good, thank you. All right, Jim and Terry, you guys want to come up and share your little summary of,
Thank you. Our discussion group was absolutely fantastic, and it's always incredibly powerful for me when people who don't know each other very well or don't know each other at all are really engaged and talking deeply about the issues that we talked about today. The discussion on forgiveness was incredibly compelling, and there were multiple stories about that. And Terry, do you want to say more about forgiveness?
There was one story that stuck with me, and it talked about communal forgiveness. And the woman started off saying that someone had wronged her. It was a man that had wronged her, and she went to a prayer service, and the priest told her to visualize this person and Jesus coming up to this person and what Jesus would be doing to this person. And she visualized that this person was being hugged by Jesus. This person that she abhorred was being hugged by Jesus. And that started her own reconciliation with the person. And the community there that was in this little group all prayed for her. And that was the beginning of her healing. And I thought that was really nice. And I thought that's something we can all do. You know, we can all visualize someone who has wronged us and go on our own path for healing.
Cool.
And just in the afternoon session where we spent most of the time talking about the tiny habits, and I want to thank you, Father, for that, because so many of us, when we try to change our behavior, are overwhelmed by trying to do too much too soon. But these little teeny steps that you can take really add up and can change a person's life and be pivotal. So again, we had a great discussion and just loved it.
Right, great, thank you.
And we also put in a plug for the SEAL, the Spiritual Exercises Program.
There you go. That was not a paid advertisement. But thank you all. And look, thank you all. I know many of you came up and shared other things, and I ask you to continue to share those with other people, what you've experienced here. Again, part of joy is sharing. So don't underestimate how the power of that is, sharing of what you've experienced here, and share it with somebody else who is here or who is not here, and say why it was so powerful. That helps, again, reroute the brain. It starts to curve new sort of pathways, neural pathways inside our mind. So I might come back to all three of those now in a second, but let me want to take here is talk about some of what are the obstacles to joy. Now, the book actually started with this, which I didn't find that helpful, because I think we needed to know what we're talking about first, and then figure out, well, what's in the way of all of developing these new pathways. And so, one of the things I want to say is that St. Bernard puts it like this, that every seed is planted in darkness, pain, struggle, surrender. And we have to water it in the darkness for it to grow. To water in darkness. In other words, so if you're in a particular struggle with trying to forgive somebody right now, or if you're trying to develop some, that's the exact struggle where you're at. This is so important to understand where you are, to embrace where you're at, and this is where you're at. And so therefore you must water that right now, because something's going to grow out of this pain and this struggle. So don't walk away from it. So, I have to do this because that's bothering me. That in this case, in the spiritual world, you have to take it head on. And you have to embrace it and know that the Lord is working in the midst of this right now. Now, there are things. So having said that, right now, that's the caveat is this, that I'm going to connect this to our one from last year, Seeds of Contemplation. In the Seeds of Contemplation, we talked about, what's in our garden. We plant these seeds. But there's sometimes things that we did not plant, but somebody else may have planted them, are weeds. And they grow up. And when a weed is really small, you can pull up the weed really soon. But you need to know what is a weed and what is not. Right? So so then the question is, what weeds are choking our joy? Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes it's not so obvious. So I want to talk a little bit about that right now, because I think it's important for us to get a little bit more skilled at discerning our spirit inside of us, because it's important to make our life a little easier. Like, it's easy to give up smoking when you've only had 1 or 2 cigarettes. When you've got 20 pack a day cigarette habit, that's a lot of habit to give up. You've got to really design that really well to figure it out, because now you're dealing with an addiction into that, right? So some of the little things, if we can discern early on, Like I give the example of this when we're training children. Children learn how to lie. Do you know what grade they learn how to lie? They master lying. Every kid tells the little lies. But do you know what grade they really master it? 3rd grade. 3rd grade, they get really, really good at it. Because what happens is, because they're now turned 7, so they've actually that's where the rational brain really starts. They start to figure out, oh, I can get away with this. They don't know I'm lying. They don't know the truth because they're just asking me a question, and I can tell one thing or another. Well, they haven't understood the effect of lying. But they learn how to lie, but they don't understand the consequences of lying. Right? So what's fascinating is that little brain is trying to figure out between what is good and what is not. So they're just lying. They actually don't understand that the lying is a bad thing. They really don't, actually. They haven't figured that part out. They haven't figured out that it's a bad thing to do. That it's just saying this one. Some adults have not figured it out either, by the way. And some of them are in public offices right now. But however, that's all right. But they haven't figured out what the difference between a lie or not lie. It doesn't, but there's a consequence for that. And the consequence may not be on me, as the child that hasn't figured this out. It may not be on me, but it may be on someone else, right? So for example, if I said, no, I didn't do that. She did that. Now, I'm not in trouble. I'm not going to get in trouble now. She's getting in trouble. Now, that may not seem like a big deal to me, but to her it's a big deal because now she's got in trouble for doing something she didn't do, something that I did. But it was just a little lie. It was just something small. I didn't take the cookie. She took the cookie. Right? So it's when you don't think there's any different. So my point at that is if we can teach, so I used to do it, my old school, I used to do a session with my 3rd graders, and I'd go in, I would talk through the consequences of lying, I have them understand, because that's to really, really understand the moral consequences for it. And really try to help them understand that is really important, because at that age, it's really easy to get rid of the habit. Because they're all small little lies. They're all insignificant. But when you get them in 4th or 5th or 6th grade and they have become really good liars, it's really hard to change. Then you become a liar. Now you're no longer telling lies. Now you become a liar. Why? Because nothing comes out of your truth anyone believes you. So it's really interesting. So the reason why I just give that as an example is that we have to find a way to discern what are the habits that are stealing my joy. We have to understand early on. Like if somebody in your life is always saying that one negative thing, that pops the balloon and seems to actually genuinely enjoy, pop. You're like, why do you always do that? Like to ask that question, do you have to do that? Do you have to say that, like pop it right away before I even get it? And if they say, ah, and they laugh at it, they've got a habit that they haven't figured out that they've got a habit of doing. Now, I have a brother who does this. Does it all the time. He loves it, pops the balloon. Oh, it just drives me. And he does it with everyone in the family. And so it's really hard. So what happens is you have to figure out, you invite them to change, invite them to see what they've done, and to see that that's a negative behavior. And then you have to say, invite them to change. And if they're not willing to change, you have to say, I can't take it. I can't have that. That's stealing my joy. And so therefore, I'm going to remove myself. Not you. I'm not telling you to get out. I'm removing myself because you're stealing my joy. And that's really hard to do. Now, I was explaining to the men's group, because we did this book in the men's group. I had to do this with one of my brothers, and I had to have a long conversation. But after 35 years, I think I'd worked hard enough at it to eventually say, I can't have you in my life. Now, and then he did the ultimate thing. Oh, wow, isn't that just fine as a priest to say? You as a priest, that's beautiful. Oh, yeah, that's what you tell all your parishioners, is it? And I said, no, I tell all my parishioners how I failed in able to contain you in my life. That the damage you're doing is so overwhelming that I had to extract myself from you. That's what I tell them. And that's the truth. So sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's a situation, a scenario, or like for example, if you want to give up donuts, right? And you don't want your donuts is your soft spot. I mean, we all have soft spots. We feel like, the smell of a donut, oh, it's unbelievable. I can't. And you say, I eat one every single day. Well, so when you walk through the donut store, there's a good chance you're going to, every day, then you're going to eat, you got to change your route. I mean, well, no, I couldn't find a parking spot, so I drove around 5 times before I found one. It's like, okay, fair enough. So, I mean, and this, but like, here's the part, like alcoholics will tell you, like, they've got to change their friends if all they do is ever drink. Like, I mean, sometimes an alcoholic can't go back to the same group of friends if all they do is socially, is absolutely, everything is about the drink. Friends are different. They don't have to have alcohol necessarily. But if some group of friends is only drinking alcohol, then that you got to find a way to, you got to change that behavior to see where you're now trying to remove yourself from a situation that will not bring you joy. Now, there's lots of examples. Like I would just say, like I'm giving you super severe examples here just to try and dramatize the point. Like not alcoholics, but I mean, sorry, drug addicts are even more significant. If a drug addict returns to their previous neighborhood with which they did drugs, do you know what the recidivism rate is? 95%. 95% recidivism rate. And if they go in and they go into a therapy program where they go away for 2, like say a month, 6 months, 12 months, the longer they stay in the program and they learn new habits and new ways, the recidivism rate goes down from 90% down to 45%. And if it goes back into the same neighborhood, it still is 90%. Isn't that brutal? So you got to actually change your context. So that's all about context. So all I'm trying to say, this is the other part of that tiny habits, you've got to know the context. If you plant a seed in the middle of a weeds, the weeds aren't going to stop growing because you planted a beautiful flower. I mean, we should know that. But if you want to plant it, you might have to till that soil, pull all those weeds up, and then your plant has got a chance to grow. So that's what I talk about, is about designing your habit. You have to be very deliberate. And then, so therefore, I want to now have you look at it a little bit about, well, how do I figure out, well, what's good and what's not good? How do I discern what Ignatius Loyola talks about, discerning the spirits? Now, what he says in discerning the spirits, so let me just do this. I'm going to explain this in an unusual way. He calls the discernment of spirits a good spirit and the bad spirits, or the evil spirits. I'm just going to say bad spirits, a little softer on our ear. A good spirit, in other words, a good habit that's drawn by the good spirit is going to get it's a discernible peace, a discernible courage, a discernible faith. That there's something, I'm feeling more energized, right? And then a bad spirit's going to have an effect of confusion, of fear, of ego, self-centeredness, right? Now he gives this wonderful example which to discern these two, right, is think of a drop of water on a sponge and a drop of water on a rock. Right? A drop of water on a sponge goes, and it's a soft landing, absorbed. A drop of water on a rock, it's going, there's this sort of like, you can feel the reaction to it. So you got to look for that reaction inside your system. So the reason why, I just want to, and then the question then is, whichever one you can't get rid of certain things. You can't, unlike my example, like with my brother, that's a rare example that you can remove people from your life. It's not that simple. Like, we don't live together, so it's easy to do that. Like, I don't see him, I pick up the phone and call him every now and then. It's not a huge stretch to say, this wouldn't be difficult. But if you live with the person, that's harder. Like, you can't do it like that. So you have to understand that there are certain limitations to our ability to affect that. So the reason why I say this is that whichever spirit you are feeding is the one that's going to grow. Right? So think of that Native American thing. There are two wolves inside our soul that are fighting, a good wolf and a bad wolf. And then the grandson asks the chief, well, which one wins the battle for the soul? Whichever wolf you feed. The good one or the bad one. The good spirits or the bad spirits. Now, let me give you a more sort of crude analogy of this is the gut biome is inside your gut. You've got this microbiome, right? And there are good bacteria and bad bacteria in the biome, right? In that microbiome. And in that microbiome, the good, so this is science, like the good bacteria is the probiotics, right? And both exist inside your system. So here's the thing, you're gonna have both, that's my point. There's always gonna be weeds. There's always gonna be good and bad inside your heart, inside your system, all the time. So the idea that you're gonna have a perfect garden that has no weeds in it, that's just a fallacy. Or you're gonna look at only good thoughts. That's not gonna happen. That's a false dilemma to look for. What you want is which one is growing. That's what you're looking to do. You're growing your good habits. You're growing your joy. You're growing, because you can't get rid of all the stuff that happens. It exists. They coexist. They have to coexist. So in the same thing, good bacteria and bad bacteria are in all of our guts right now is good and bad. And that's just the way it is. But whichever one you feed is the one that will get the biggest attention from it. So much so that it's actually chemically reactive to your brain, that it communicates, your gut communicates to your brain to demand its food. So what was it? We call it maybe pejoratively, the junk food industry have figured that out. So sugar and salt are part of the bad biogen. Like if you have too much of that, that's bad. That's not good for your gut. It's not. So, but they figured out those two are really tasty. And they go together. And so what happens is more that's in there, and the more you eat, the more your gut says, we like that. We want more of that. Send a message to the brain, let's have more of that. So thus you can't eat one chip. You try to eat one chip. I challenge you to eat one chip and not have any more. It's really hard to do because you go, and you keep going back. Why? Because your body is connecting, your gut is connecting to your brain. So now why do I bring that up? Because your soul is connected to your body. They don't exist separately. So you got to listen to your body. You got to listen to your heart. You got to listen to those emotions. You got to listen to the thoughts. Why? Because they're connected. You got to trust your body. It knows. It knows what's good for you. Your mind knows what's good for you. The good thoughts and the attention and the behavior, it knows what is going to draw it good. Now, it's not saying that you can't get misled. You can. But I'm saying if we listen to our body, genuinely listen, you'll know this isn't good, this is good. And the body and the soul work together for the good of the soul. Right? So that's why we practice certain things. That's why we practice fasting, for example. We practice fasting to help us to learn what is good for us, to do away with maybe candy for Lent or alcohol for Lent or to give up this for Lent or that. Why? It's not because because it's learning to, the body has something to say to the soul. The body has something to say to the soul. Listen to it. We can do without this or when the body, now on the negative side, just let's be honest here, like on the negative side, we have to be very mindful, like, to listen to the body when things are going wrong. I mean, stress is a great example, right? Stress will listen to our body when we're stressed. Our body reacts to stress, right? So does our soul. Our soul reacts to stress too. And we need to listen to it. So if we're stressed out, it's very hard to be a really joyful person. We're all stressed out. So it all works together. So like you've heard me say this time and time again, sleep, exercise, and prayer, SEP. You need to have those in your life. And when those go off base, your body will feel it, and so too will your spirit. Like I've been down this road. I've been down this road many times, that when those get out of whack, I am not the best version of myself. And that looks like different things to different people. I'll get driven, I'll do more, I'll get lots more stuff done, but then I become, it's like eating, like munching, I go more. It's not healthy, it's not good for my spirit, it's not good for my soul, And so that's stress. So we have to learn to listen to that and be attentive, intentionally attentive to what my body is saying, and start taking tiny shifts back to take into the good spirits, what is good for us. So what does some of that look like? Here's what some of the 8 obstacles that they brought up in the book. That when you have the obstacle of fear, when you're afraid to get fear, that the opposite is trust. So we need to, so tiny habit for that one might be to breathe and to bless what we're afraid of. Stress, the opposite of that would be peacefulness. Maybe the thing would be to take the 3-breath prayer that I taught you, right? Breathe in 3 times, exhale, inhale, exhale, and do that 3 times 3. When we're angry, the opposite of that will be mercifulness. Maybe the prayer that we say simply, this 1-minute prayer we introduce is, Father, forgive me. Father, forgive them. Father, forgive me as I forgive them. Forgive them as you. Just any word, any phrase of those. When we're sad profoundly, and I'm just as like sadness is, I'm not talking about sorrow or loss. I'm just sad about certain situation. The opposite would be surrender. So let's name the feeling. Again, 2-minute prayer between two events. That tiny habit is name it and not be afraid of it, and take it. The opposite of the obstacle is despair, and the opposite of that will be hope. And the question is then, well, what can give us hope? Can we notice the beauty in a situation? Like one of the presenters just here just said, like noticing how beautiful our church is, the building, how beautiful the properties are, how beautiful our neighborhood is, how the mountains we live in, how beautiful it is to have water from our tap, clean water, how beautiful a rose is, how beautiful it is that I'm able to breathe in good, clean air. Just every little thing. And then loneliness, the opposite of loneliness, as I said earlier, was connection. And then you say, maybe the habit there is to text somebody, to connect, to make it a single, again, one, not overdo it, not you're going to go out for dinner every month or every week or every night. You're just going to text somebody. Again, a 2-minute connection. Make it easy. This one often comes up, they bring this up, is envy is often something that steals our joy. And therefore the opposite of that is gratitude. So a learning to say thank you out loud. And you might need to practice this at home. If you haven't done it before, you actually have to say it in the mirror. The other thing somebody taught me, and I think it's very good, is you have to smile. Look in the mirror and smile at yourself. And see what it looks like to smile versus not smile. So when you're out, that you feel those muscles move to know that you're smiling. Because I think for some people who have not smiled in a long time, they don't know what it's like to smile. And if you're not living with someone, you're alone, you don't know what am I smiling at? If there's no one around to notice I smile, why would I bother? So you need to look in the mirror and smile. Why? Because that's the only mug I've ever got. That's my face. I can't do anything about it. So let's smile at it. I've told you that story that every now and then I look at my face in the mirror and I go, the years have not been good. Ooh. And then I have this drawer that I have a photo of myself when I got first ordained, and I had a big head of black hair, looked really young, and so every now and then I pretend that's a mirror. I open it up. I look good. I look really good. Or at least I did at one point. And then suffering, and the opposite of suffering is, because suffering can steal your joy, no question about it, is meaning. And the meaning, maybe you can say a whisper of, God is here. God is here. God is with me. God is with me now. Pope Francis says that we have to allow that we have to make sure that we don't become defeatist, because we will turn into disillusioned pessimists if otherwise. He says if we develop a tomb psychology instead of a womb psychology, then we will slowly transform our lives and we will slowly become mummies in museums. A tomb psychology. I think it's a great word. And he talks about how he doesn't dismiss suffering. This is Francis. He recognizes it, but he calls us to rise with witness of acts of witness and joy. And this comes why it is so important to have the habits before we get in some deep suffering. So here's some of the habit behavior that they mention in the book. And I'm going to try and put them to anchor, behavior, and celebration to try and get them. So let's say we're fearful and we want to move to fear. We want to get to is courage. In the sight of fear, we want a reaction of courage. Then, whatever it is the moment that we're experiencing that fear, whether it's in a meeting or with a person, that we anchor that. As soon as we feel that, we said, okay, when I'm making when I feel fear come on, I'm going to say, God is here. My behavior is I'm going to say, God is here. And then I make a smile or make a sign of the cross. If you're with somebody, you're not going to do that. Oh, God is here. Then they might feel like, oh, you must be afraid of me. I might have all my staff doing that now. Oh, and no. But you can smile and say, God is here. Like, we don't always see that, but if we say it, we might believe it. Again, the thing of stress, if we can move to stillness. Let's say you get stressed out and you're on your way to work. Maybe at a red light, we pause, take 3-breath prayer, right? I gave that example earlier. And then we celebrate by saying, peace with me. Peace is with me. And if you're trying to move from anger to forgiveness, when we hear the person say this, and that reaction that comes up within us, that we catch it early, knowing that this is a weed, that this is going to steal my joy. So early, as soon as we catch it, we say, as soon as I feel that urge come up, I'm going to say, forgive them, Lord, they don't know what they've done. And then I'm going to celebrate by visualizing maybe the face of Christ, like the example that was given earlier. Imagine Christ hugging this person. So the example I gave about sadness moved to meaning, that when we wake up in the morning, for example, if you've lost a loved one, waking up is the hardest part of the day. Because you wake up to the sadness again. You go like, here it is again. And so being courageous enough to wake up and say, this day matters, God is with me. God has a plan. And then you place your hand on your heart and says, Lord, you're here, even though I don't feel it. So the idea of transforming, again, I'm just trying to give you all these little examples of ideas of where it can lead you to it. Or as I said, the spirit of hope, about before you go to bed, if you've had a really hard day, is to write down those three gratitude, but also one of hope. So the last one would be to add one hopeful thing in your journal and then light a candle to represent that hope. So here's what where can you develop or cultivate joy in your life? That's the question I want us to pause for a moment here. Because I think God is leading all of us to be more joy-filled. But he's not leading all of us in the exact same direction. That's what makes preaching so hard for us priests, is because if there's 300 people in the church, there's 300 different experiences of where this is going this week. So we have to make a message so that you can apply it to your own life. So I'm trying to get you to think through, where is there God inviting me? Where in your life today is God inviting you to look and cultivate joy? Now, that might be taking out a weed that you know is there, or it might be letting the weeds grow with them and just feeding only this. So you can't take them all out, because if you rip all the weeds out right when they're all young, you let them all grow, one's going to outgrow the other if you feed that one. So where is God inviting me to cultivate joy today? Instead, as opposed to instead of taking out the weed, where is God asking me to invest in? What's he asking you to water? What's he asking you to invest in? What is he asking you to? So there might be someone or something that is asking. Now, it might be something. I've given you lots of different examples. So let's just think about that for a minute, and then we'll share. Okay, so let's share with your neighbor, no more than 3, and we'll give you 2 full minutes. All right, so let's come on back. Okay, so let's come on back. So where is God inviting me to cultivate joy? Okay, anyone want to be the volunteer? Oh, come on now. I'll make you draw, paint. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, one of the ways I would cultivate joy is to keep a gratitude journal that I use every day.
Okay, that's the invitation. Good. Okay, these don't have to be complex. I'm hoping you're trying to get all the way to the back there, Tina.
Two of us in our group shared that we cultivate joy with our family really well when we're on vacation. And then the day-to-day doldrums happen, and there's little bits, whether it's a grandchild or whether it's a shared experience or a shared story, that bring the joy in that moment, and those are awesome. And our goal is our project when we leave here is to find joy each day. So look for it and share that each day to bring more into our lives, not just on vacation.
Okay, very good. Not vacation only, right? There you go.
Okay, Sarah would like to.
Can I tell tales on you? I asked Meredith, I looked her right in the face and said, where's God inviting you to cultivate joy instead? And she gave the most brilliant answer. She said, where isn't he?
Where what?
Where isn't he?
Where isn't he? There you go. Cool. All right, anyone else? So here's what I want to switch to, because I think these two questions go back to back. And the reason why I want to share this one first. So here's the thing that Ignatius says. He says that there are, in his examen, he has 3 things he asks you to name to be grateful for in a day. And then in the examination, you then look for 3 things that you're not doing that you want to sort of. Now, I find, so 3 positive and 3 negative, so to speak. Now, I have adapted that prayer to only 1 negative, and I'll tell you why. The modern psychology of a disciple here in Silicon Valley is if they see 3 negatives, they will focus only on the 3 negatives. So it has to be a 3-to-1 ratio, because we're so hard on ourselves. So because psychologically we've developed over these last 500 years since he did this in a much more negative way. We tend to be much more negative than we were back then, from what we can gather from literature. So I'm saying do the 3-to-1 ratio, 3 positives and one area where you feel like, the word I use is where the flow is blocking, where there's something happening. Like, think of flowing river and everything's, and you might have rocks underneath the water, or it might go against, but then there's this one big rock just sticking up in the water, and there's all this white water. That's the one that gets your attention. What's that one where the white water is flowing around? Okay, so that's one, and you're looking for that one. The block or the flow is disrupted, right? Another way to look at it is, where do I feel more distant from my joy, right, or love? Now, he calls this the movement of the evil spirits. I'm going to say the movement of the bad spirits. So there's what's drawing me, what's stealing the joy. So where's God calling you to? But now I want to go, what's calling you away? And I would like to do 3 of those ones, but we've done it multiple times today, so I feel we've done 3. Now we've got to be honest. And the reason I gently go here, but it's important we go here, because there are weeds in our lives. There are things that are drawing us away from goodness. Now, that might be bad habits that you're doing, things that you do that's not good for you. Like if you're having 7 or 8 drinks a day, that's not good for you. That's not going to get, that might be a bad habit. You say, that's taking my, because you won't be able to do your night prayer. And you won't be able to do your morning prayer, or the next morning prayer either, right? But you might sit down and you think it's not a bad habit. You sit down, you watch 2 hours of television. You don't even think about it. You just sit plump in front. Or, like it was, you now know, is the habit of social media. That I get online and you're, all of a sudden, you've lost 2 hours. Now, you might say, well, I'm just wasting time. I'm trying not to use my brain. That's fine. But if is it stealing your joy? Because it may not. Not all social media is bad. As I told you, you might be watching cat videos, and that may be fun. But you've lost 2 hours. And that 2 hours can't be had back. Right? So we have to be honest now. This is for you and your neighbor. We may not share, I know many of you may not want to share this, but if you're willing to be honest with us, we need to hear what we're up against. Because there are habits that we have that we need to stop. And the only way to stop it is to replace it with another good habit. So if I'm asking you for 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, and you say you don't have time, and you're spending 2 to 6 hours online doing social media, it's not that you don't have time, it's you have not chosen joy. You have chosen pleasure. Temporary pleasure. Scrolling pleasure. And remember, that's the dopamine. You're getting your press. Just understand how it's working. And I'm saying that the joy that's going to give you a much longer lasting dopamine all the way into heaven, right, is these other things, right? So we're going to think about this. So here's the next question. You can put up that next question. Is what's the one weed that keeps on creeping up in my life, in my spirit? It's a really tough question. I know it's tough. What's the one weed that I need to take out? So let's take a minute right now, and then we'll share for 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to be brave and share it with your neighbor, your parent, maybe your spouse or a friend or a now new friend. And then I ask you, consider sharing it with the larger group when we're done. You just got 2 more minutes or 3 minutes to do this. Go ahead and share. Okay, the moment of truth. All right, so a moment of truth. Here we go. We're going to share some weeds. Not weed, weeds. All right, so what is the one weed? All right, here we go. We got one person. Thank you. All right, Dan.
We got one guy. All right, here we go. So I was just sharing with my wife. My number one problem right now is prioritizing what's truly important to me and her and our whole family. So it's just the hamster wheel of Silicon Valley and just all. I told her it's like work is like the scrolling.
Yeah.
It's always there. I can always go back to it, and I feel compelled to do it. But what, at the expense of my family and their well-being?
Right.
I mean, come on. So, and then more recently, your last question, there's a strong call for her and I, and that we've got to fit that into our lives as well. And so it's just prioritization and making sure that we decide what's important together and to really attack those things. So that's it.
So I want to say inside prioritization, busyness does not mean necessarily goodness, right? We can be busy about a lot of wrong things. So, and I will tell you that's my biggest weed is busyness. Because if I'm busy even when I'm busy about the right things, all good things, if I'm so busy I don't have prayer, I don't have exercise, I don't sleep, then it's not. So my weed is constantly popping up. It is rampant is busyness, rampant in my life. So I'm constantly fighting the battle of the weed off. Oops. That was the alarm to stop talking. Okay, next one. I should do it every 2 minutes.
Here we go.
Thank you. Oh, you hold it? Okay. I think my weed is being too hard on myself. You know, like expecting way too much. And I was sharing with my new friends here that a few months ago, I was at an event for work, and I was being recognized. And my husband looked at me and he said, "I thought you said you're not doing so well." I was like, why do they keep on calling you if you weren't doing so well? So I was like, oh, that's my weed. It's like, instead of celebrating what I've been able to do, I focus on what else I could have done.
It's a very common weed. So thank you for sharing that. It's a very, very common weed, being hard. And in Silicon Valley in particular, type A personalities, we got a lot of them in our valley. I know nothing about it. Anyway, so you got another one? Go ahead.
Do I hold it? Okay. For me, it's the one that you mentioned is social media. And I think it's not so much that wasting the time and thinking about what else I could be doing better with my time, but it's more about the feelings that it invokes in me. So there's feelings at times of envy, right? You see the friend that's always traveling everywhere or seems to have this life that seems better than yours. And then afterwards I feel guilty for feeling that way because she's a wonderful person, perhaps, you know? Or, and just trying to remember that these are just pictures or snapshots in a person's life, right? Most people are not posting their miserable days. They're almost, we talked about, they're almost bragging at times. And so, you know, you're trying to decipher this. So it really comes down to the feelings that it imposes on you.
Great.
Of guilt and envy, and those are not things that I think as Christians that we also want to
Fantastic.
feel.
Absolutely true. Now, I want to say something to you that is not, I'm not saying this, it was said by the founder of one of the social media companies. He said, when we built the social media, we built it on the vices, the human vices, deliberately, because they're addictive. The virtues are not. Now, isn't that powerful? He said, he said, okay, ownership. It was Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. We built LinkedIn on all the vices because we knew they're addictive. A multimillionaire. So it's not incidental that that's happening. That was deliberate. So to create envy is one of the sins. They create that inside you, and then it feeds it. So it is. So naming it is very good. That's exactly it. So that's great. Anyone else?
Over here.
Right there, Christine.
Oh, sorry. I'll come back.
Oh. Yeah, so my mom is coming back on Monday from the Philippines, and I'm having anxiety because I know I'm off every Monday. So I do all those yard works and household chores, grocery, on Monday. But if she's here, all my Mondays just for her. I have to drive her to Filipino stores. I have to do medical appointments. So in a way, I feel like sometimes she's stealing my joy. But I'm also thinking on a different perspective that I am grateful that I have these resources, my time and energy to serve her. So.
Okay, thank you. And Christine? Be there 1 second.
I just wanted to add to what you're saying and Father Brendan and about the comment about being so hard on ourselves. I read recently that it takes 3 seconds for our brain and selves to process an insult or what we perceive to be something negative because it's a threat. And it takes 60 to 90 seconds to process a positive statement or compliment. And so most of us don't even process it because in 60 to 90 minutes, you've moved on to the next thing.
Correct.
and we're holding all the negative stuff.
And it's scientific, science right behind that. The science behind that is that an ancient part of the brain, the amygdala inside of your brain, fight or flight, that's what applies that, fight or flight. It is evolved to keep you safe. So if something's in danger, negative, boom, operate right away. Boom, it kicks in right away. There's no thinking involved, it just kicks in. And that immediately drives your behavior, right? But when something's going well, there's no fear, so that part of the brain doesn't kick in, and you've got to work through all the other part of the brain, which takes much longer. So it's physiologically, our brains are wired to survive. And so but we don't live in a threatening society in that way. It is threatening, but threatening in a different way. Now in a different way. Okay, Christine.
Yes, I grew up in kind of rural, semi-agriculture part of Colorado. Small Roman Catholic family compared to Father Brendan. I was 7th of 9 kids. I have 5 older brothers, and they were, a decade and a half older than me, and so they were given all this authority. Several of my older brothers and sisters thought of themselves anything between 10 to 25-star generals. So they were always very authoritarian, very dictatorial, and all that. So procrastination has been my biggest battle, and I find it's rooted in that sort of you're resisting for your own independence, but you're really, trying to, procrastination is the weed I have had, and we talked about that. And part of it is in just the root of my family roots, family experience.
Okay. Well, look, thank you for sharing. Look, each of us have to decide what one, ultimately your homework I'm asking you to take is just select one weed in your own life that you're going to try to pull out. Now, here's the thing about it is, when you decide that this is not good for you, whether it's being hard on yourself or whether it's remember, tiny habits, but do not give up on the habit. So do it tiny, small, but keep doing it. Because if you keep doing it, the weed will come out. Okay? So you got to keep doing it. And you have to discern what is the one that's affecting you the most. So design well what you're going to do, and then keep doing it. Keep doing it. 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Eventually, that thing will come out. All right? So just learning to let that go. All right, so we want to come to an end here. I want to close with a couple of quick last comments. First of all, a quote from Julianne Sands, our retreat director from last year. Let us create a space for grace, so that even what is broken inside of us can become beautiful. I think that is kind of worthy of that moment. So I want to show, before we go, come on up, over the other thing we did, we had artwork, and we have these samples of art. I'm hoping you can see these. These are just some of the samples of your artwork. They're up in the, thank you, Vanna. Vanna, very nice, beautiful, lovely, yeah. So they're beautiful. They're up on the windows inside the Parish Center, and just on the wall, on the glass wall there. And you can, as you go into the bathrooms, either there, just take a look at them before you come back. Like, you'll have time between now and this evening. So this kind of honor their good work, and I want to thank both Teresa and Angela for their good work in that session as well. So thank you all for that. So the last thing I want to come to and to close this out is this. You came here for a reason. The Lord had you moved your heart, and you came for a reason. Listen to your heart. Listen to that reason. Listen to why you came, and let the Lord fulfill that desire inside of you. Now, maybe that was just simply community, being here in community. Then make a habit to to pull out one small weed and to develop one small little habit. Maybe you were here for something else. Or maybe you got something, even though you didn't come here for it, you received some nugget. So listen in this last break before Mass. Listen to what the Lord has put on your heart. Let Christ show you where he wants you to go. Let Christ show you where he wants you to go. I've said many, many things. I don't want to emphasize one over the other. I'm hoping the Lord will point out what is important to you. But listen to what it is that has touched your heart and really act on it. And take one step, do one thing and make that work in your life. Okay? I'm going to close with a blessing and poem I wrote for this section too. It's called A Blessing for Clearing the Way. May you have the courage to name what no longer serves, the fear that clings, the anger that guards, the sorrow that sinks. May you pull the weeds not with shame, but with tenderness, honoring their roots and how they once tried to protect you and now no longer do. May joy return not in thunder, but in the soft, surprising green that rises after the storm has passed. May you make room then for grace by removing what clutters light. And when your hands are tired and your soul worn thin, may you rest in the one who never tires of tending you. God's joy is your garden. It is not too late to let it grow wild again. For even the dandelion, once called a weed, can now become tea for healing your soul. Amen. All right, so we're going to play one last song, and then we will close out.
Father, I just want to say thank you. I've had such a lovely day. Have you all just had a lovely day? It's been beautiful. So at the end of the day, I'm going to ask you all to do me a favor. Sit up straight, real straight as you can. Take a deep breath. Put your hands, just open your hands in your lap like this. And just let the words wash over you. We leave today with a spirit of gratitude. Thank you, Father, for all the beautiful words you've given us. Thank you, Lord, for your love. And our gratitude leads us to joy. At the rising of the sun, as the starry night gives way to dawn, I will breathe it in and sing this song. Thank you. As I rise and as I go, make my way upon the narrow road. Let my prayer be this and this alone. Oh, thank you. You are good, forever good. You are faithful, only faithful. You are constant, you are kind, and I am grateful. Let's sing that chorus together. You are good. You are good, forever good. You are faithful, only faithful. You are constant, you are kind, and I am grateful. So let me ever lift my hands, ever look toward a cross that stands. Oh, Jesus, in this life and for the next, thank you. You are good. Oh, you are good, forever good. You are faithful, only faithful. You are constant, you are grateful.
Thank you. Just a couple of housekeeping things. So if you haven't already picked up your Give Us This Day book, we have one for each one of you outside at the table outside. That's the Give Us Day, the monthly prayer book. We give them out here every month as well. And then immediately we're going to take a break here, 15 minutes. We'll have Mass. Invite you to come for Mass. Then we're going to have immediately afterwards, we'll have a little bit of a short meal. We'll have a meal in here, and you'll get a kind of grab and go meal. And then we will be back in here at 7 o'clock on the dot with the concert. We're looking forward to it, Sarah and with Meredith. Okay. Thank you all. Good night. Thank you. See you later.
I didn't listen to you, Father. Father, I didn't listen to you. Sorry.
What's that?
I didn't listen to you.
That's all right. It was a good song.